Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I want to start with where we left off on Tuesday. This was the relatively cloud-free scene through parts of California, Nevada, Southern Oregon here, where we were looking at where the snow was before all this heavy precipitation came through. And I said we need to watch this area specifically for some major changes. So are you ready for this? We did get a quick glimpse yesterday of some cloud-free time, and take a look at it. Yeah, we filled a lot of that in with snow. In fact, let's just go back and forth. This was before and this is after, piling in that snow. This is not clouds, this is all snow here. And so let's take a look at what that did to our basin average snow water content numbers. We're going to do the same thing we did on Tuesday. March 9th, 2020, you can see that the Sierra Nevada reporting stations between 41 and 53%. As we fast forward now to the numbers we got yesterday, 51 to 69%. So we had a recovery of better than 20% in this region, which is fantastic. Now, much of the rest of the Intermountain West looks very good. Anytime you see numbers over 80%, we're doing pretty darn good with our space and average snow water content, which means we're going to have a decent water year. Well, of course, depending on summer temperatures and evaporation rates, but this is better than starting off in deficit. So these numbers overall very healthy across the western United States. So let's check in specifically on California's Northern Sierra precipitation 8-station index numbers and look at the jump that was made right here. So now up to 22.9. Remember, we're still in deficit. We should still be somewhere closer to 40 inches when you average these stations, but that jump that you see right there is substantial, and we do have more that's on the way. Sliding a little farther south into the San Joaquin precipitation stations, we can see a very similar thing. We're up to 16.1 now. We're still in deficit. We are about half of what we should be, but still this jump here has been extremely beneficial, and we need to keep making progress over the next couple weeks. And heading on down south to Tulare Basin, we can see also a jump here, not quite as substantial, but still making progress, and we should be sitting around 22, 23, and we're at 10.3. So in general, we just look at the total water health picture at this point in terms of what's been delivered from the atmosphere. So I'm not talking about what's in reservoirs right now, but what's been delivered from the atmosphere. We're somewhere sitting around 50% of what we need. So we do need more. That's why you've seen the latest drought monitors. They've shown you still in drought in California. We do need more precipitation out of this, and we're going to talk about some more that we're going to be getting here. Because the flow pattern out in the Pacific is still doing what it has been doing. Can you see the omega block? It's right there. But we are going to be watching for changes over Alaska as we get into week 2, and I want everyone to pay close attention to that. So more systems are still waiting in the wings, including another cutoff low that we're seeing here just off the coast. So let's talk about this and see how these systems are evolving. Because over the next week, take a look at this total accumulated precipitation map. Big changes for the Northwest, specifically coastal Oregon and Washington, as we're finally returning quite a bit of that moisture. Going to be packing up the snow in this part of the Rocky Mountains as well in Canada, and still adding quite a bit more into the central Rockies here as well. So you can see though that where that cutoff low is coming from, right in through here, and it's definitely going to be adding up the snowfall here in the Sierra Nevada and bringing in some more valley rain. So let's talk about this by first looking over at what we're expecting in terms of total accumulated snow through the next week. Our higher peaks easily grabbing another couple of feet of snow here in the Sierra Nevada, but with the change in the pattern coming at the end of the week, you'll see it in a few moments, we're going to be bringing in some bigger snows back to the Cascade Mountains as well. Now remember, much of the Intermountain West doing fine on snowpack right now, but really piling it up here in parts of the Intermountain West, specifically parts of Utah and Nevada, so adding quite a bit into there, and the Colorado Rockies here getting hammered again with the next few systems coming through. So let's take a look at it. We're going to start off right early this morning on Friday. This is valid at 4 a.m. Let's play this one forward and see where this cutoff low goes, because it's kind of got two pieces to it. Can you see how there's a northern circulation and a southern? Well, let's play it forward and see how the two of them work together to come together and give us some precip. So Friday afternoon and evening, relatively boring. I mean, we just maybe get some very light precipitation in California with some snows here, light snow in parts of Nevada and Utah. As we move forward, though, we're going to watch. This is Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon and evening. Now getting into Sunday morning. That cutoff low taking its dear sweet time to get here, but then we're going to be watching. Now check this out. This is pretty cool. We're going to see a system coming out of the north and out of the south combining across the western United States. This is Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening. By that time, that cutoff low we've been watching sitting and spinning here finally interacts with California's coast. Get a little bit of snow in the Sierra Nevada, but some rain here. Not much, but some rain. But this is now Sunday evening. Now watch by Monday. This is Monday morning, We can now see that system fully getting pushed into the coast. So this is a pretty soggy day on Monday. But system number 2 is sliding down here. See it? And this is going to introduce precipitation to the northwest right there. And it's going to help to push more moisture into the California coast and get it over those mountains, even into parts of Nevada. So Monday afternoon, Monday evening, getting into Tuesday morning. Now you can see the two forces are kind of combined, if you will, and now we're bringing quite a bit of coastal precipitation to the whole of the west coast and some snows here into the northern Rockies right in through this area. Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon and evening. This is going to be a multi-day event next week, starting on Monday like we saw, lasting all the way through Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon and evening. And it's the same story. That feed is just coming through there, pushing all that moisture into place. But do you notice something happening out in the Central Pacific? There it is. Now we need to see what this high pressure cell does. So let's go beyond next Wednesday night into Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon and evening. And what we're going to notice here is that higher atmospheric pressure elongates in this area as a change happens over Alaska. And that change is going to target more precipitation initially in the northwest by next Friday. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the operational model run. Now, remember, we have to be careful using single model runs anything beyond a week. But this one right now shows that another big push coming out of the northwest could increase precipitation amounts in Northern California, leaving Southern California on the drier side of things by next weekend. So this is what we need to be watching evolve all next week to see if this comes through. Because if it does materialize the way the current model runs suggest, and we're way out here in the forecast, folks, so I'm going to show you this in a different way in a few moments, but we could be adding quite a bit more snow to the northern Sierra and the northern ranges in California, as well as Oregon and Washington. So what's that change that's happening out there? Well, it might manifest itself like this once we get out of only looking at week 2 precipitation anomalies. We lose the omega pattern, and that is what starts to show us up with some drier conditions compared to normal. Now, this isn't going back over to no precipitation at all, trust me, okay? But you see drier conditions moving through this area while the flow redirects and comes down like this and hits coastal Oregon, Washington, and pushes quite a bit more snow into the northern Rockies here. This is only week 2, which gets us out to April 3rd. Here's that change we're seeing. We lose the omega block. We start to see the ridge elongate and push a little bit to the west. We then see, as we talked about on Wednesday, the deeper trough forming over Alaska. So the flow comes around this ridge and in like this. And that's why you see the increased precipitation for the northwest and not so much over California. So with that as a backdrop, let's talk about what temperatures are going to do in response. Over the next 5 days, parts of the Columbia Basin show a slight warm bias. But with these cutoff lows lingering off the coast and finally making their way on shore, we see that much of California shows up on the cooler side of things, as does parts of southern Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Now I want to take a specific look at the temperatures, and I want to look carefully at overnight low temperatures. So these are minimum temperatures this morning. And let's just step this through to see how things evolve as we get from here into Saturday. And what I'm specifically looking for is the extent of the below freezing air. So it's a pretty chilly start here in the northwest, specifically Montana. But as we get into Saturday and now into Sunday, you're going to start to see, well, the Central Valley avoids the freezing temperatures. And we're going to start to see the Pacific Northwest really warm up. This is Sunday's lows, getting into Monday's lows. Look at that. So much warmer at this time period, only the cold temperatures in the mountains here. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So what I wanted to show you here was that the models right now are not bringing in freezing temperatures to the Central Valley of California, which is quite important for ag there. But still, elevation-dependent temperature issues out here out west with a cool bias overall for the southwest. Now, what about getting out here to day 5 through 10? We continue to see cooler than average weather, but a lot of this is because of cloud cover, and a lot of this is because of precipitation. Remember, we were quite wet through the next 7 to 8 days overall, when we put it all together. What are these anomalies? Well, we're down here 3 to 6 degrees cooler than average. Now, this is in degrees Celsius here, but it gives you an idea that we're talking maybe at most 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than average. But watch the northern Canadian prairies and Alaska when I take you out to day 10 through 15. The cold air is sitting right over here. Just like we talked about in Wednesday's long-range outlook, we were seeing it stacked up with the polar vortex sitting on top of it. And that, you can see here, relaxes the cooler pattern we saw across the west, and that seems to continue into our long-range outlook for April. So brand new data came in, and it's the beauty of these Friday forecasts. We get to see the new long-range first. This is, again, the month of April, and just like we talked about, look at temperatures first over there on the right. Like we talked about, we saw a relaxing of the colder pattern more toward normal temperatures. And really, you can see that the model is just hanging on to elevation-dependent, snowpack-driven cold temperatures. See that? While the rest of the country really relaxed overall. Now, one thing that we have to watch is Alaska, okay? And the reason why is because if we end up developing a more permanent trough sitting in this area, which is possible, okay, this will help redirect the moisture feed in this direction, which could go back over to a little bit of a drier pattern as we go into the month of April. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The precipitation forecasts from the long-range European model have failed across the western United States. Temperatures have been good, precipitation bad. So I'm right now just going to tell you, put a big question mark on it. We're going to watch it week by week. Because not only do we have this data, but this was just released yesterday from NOAA. Now, I got to spend the weekend analyzing this because this is their new spring outlook, and they use an analog model to get this. And I have a different analog model than they do, and I'm going to compare it and report back to you next week on this. But this is their spring 2020 temperature outlook for April through June. And they've got us across the western United States quite warm. What is interesting, though, is that they're advertising this as the precipitation pattern, with the driest anomalies in Northern California and Oregon. And when I look at this, just a few questions come up. Now, I'm not questioning NOAA. NOAA is an outstanding organization full of top scientists. But I have to step back and say, all right, what would be the meteorology that would drive this pattern? So I'm going to research it and I'll report back to you, okay? Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks.